Hola, ¿qué tal amigos del México Outdoor Film Festival? Una vez más estamos en estas charlas. El día de hoy nos encontramos con un director que pues ya se encuentra en diferentes festivales y pues nos da muchísimo gusto poderlo presentar. Palmer Morse, welcome to the Mexico Outdoor Film Festival. I present this interview to all the requests that follow us in the social media or in the festival, as well in the projections. How are you, Palmer?
I'm good. How are you? Really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Uh, can we start talking about your profession, your activities? Who is Palmer? Where are you from?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for having me. Yeah, my name is Palmer. I'm the co-founder of a production company called Spruce Tone. I'm based in the Bay Area of California, and Spruce Tone mainly produces short films and documentaries in the outdoor industry and for environmental nonprofits and organizations as well. So yeah, we're really pleased to have both Forward and Elevated at your festival this year.
Oh, thank you very much to make it happen and to share with us. And we're very proud to announce that at the Mexico Outdoor Film Festival 2024, we're going to project these documentaries. Well, we can start talking about Fordward if you want it.
Sure. Yeah, sounds great.
We saw or we watched about Anjelica. How do you know Anjelica or his story?
Yeah, so Angelica is actually a friend of Sonya, who is the main character of our other film, Elevated, that we'll talk about shortly. And after making Elevated, I was introduced to Angelica by Sonya. They both live in Los Angeles. Both are, spending time outside, although in different ways. Sonya's a climber, Angelica is more of a hiker, backpacker. And yeah, Angelica kind of reached out to me in Spruce Tone and basically said, "Hey, I'm Angelica. I've started this group of this hiking group of mainly women who consider themselves plus size, women of color. It's just like a space for us to find community and belonging. I think I have a story I'd like to tell. Our perspective hasn't really been shared all that much in the outdoor industry and also mainstream media. Like, would you want to collaborate? So oftentimes I feel like I have to, I come across a story or a topic I want to explore, and I do the reaching out, and I have to like kind of get folks to open up. But Angelica came to me and like right away was like really excited to share, which is pretty rare. It doesn't really happen too often, but
Okay.
I think it was mainly because we had this mutual friend in Sonia and connection, of course.
Okay, Palmer, something difficult about this forward documentary, I don't know, like a production could be create the space or go to the outside.
Mhm.
What kind of difficulties that you uh, or live in this production?
Yeah, there is some challenges. I mean, in the making of the film, of course, but also, I think the topic itself addresses a lot of challenges in the industry. But I'll start with kind of like the production phase, and my work on it. Obviously, uh, this film basically follows Angelica and this group of women, about 30 or so women, and kind of shares their perspective, the community that Angelica has built. And we go with them on this hike that they do annually in Los Angeles, just outside Los Angeles. And they essentially attempt to summit I believe it's six peaks in one day,
Mhm.
all in one hike over like 16, 17 miles or so.
Okay.
And for maybe like, a lot of very avid outdoorsy people, that doesn't really sound that challenging, but for the everyday person, it's a tall order. It's a big task to take on.
Yeah.
Um, so that meant that our team had to, with all of our gear, all of our cameras, all of our lenses, all of our batteries, like go with them on this hike. There were three of us on this crew. It was pretty
Okay.
small. Myself directing, my friend Skylar was director of photography, and then my friend Rachel was running sound. And, you know, Skylar with his big camera, hiking the whole thing, Rachel with all of her sound equipment, capturing it all, me with a backpack full of lenses and batteries and all, snacks and water and all the things. Uh, Needless to say, we like all slept a lot after this trip. And, it was pretty taxing, but it was really fun. And I think part of the message of this film, and when your audience watches it, is that like everyone's hike is their own hike, and Anjelica likes to call herself very proudly like, I am a slow hiker. Like, I take my time. I hike with people who take their time. I'm out there to enjoy it and like be with nature and like have my feet take me to the top of these peaks. Um, which I really identify with. Like, I like taking my time too. And I think in a way like that actually really helped with production because we were able to like take a lot of breaks, go slowly. It wasn't like go go go, we're missing shots. It was very chill. It was just a lot in one day. Yeah.
Well, we say the hikers, we say like step by step.
Yes, step by step. Yeah,
Step by step.
absolutely.
But well, I think it's a, I don't know about, it looks like the weather could be hot, in little hot.
That time of year actually, it was May.
Okay.
And actually, it was really interesting. Like, yeah, I think a lot of folks think of Southern California and Los Angeles. For most of the year, it is really warm. Um, but where we were hiking up in the mountains outside the city, there was actually like a good amount of snow still. Like, I never really realized that those mountains do get snow at a certain elevation. So, the beginning of the morning was actually like pretty brisk and chilly, and we were hiking through like a little bit of snow at times. Then when the sun comes out, it got warm. So
Yeah.
I think the thing, as I'm sure maybe it's similar in Mexico, like you just gotta have layers, constantly taking them off, putting them back on, like all the things.
Good. Sounds a good experience with all these hikers. And as you say, how do you think that promote this kind of outdoor activities about people with different physical properties, and could be there is starting, or could be there is not living like a pro or like a super uh, sport woman or guy
Yeah.
who's are working very hard. uh, what do you think to promote about this documentary forward, to explain to the community, to all the people, that we are part, or all we are part of a community, and we are very different each others, so we have to accept to and the ask is, what do you think about this this film, to
Yeah.
promote in general about the different with other kind of documentaries?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think ultimately we hope that this film can be a conversation starter to lead to like really meaningful dialogue about the what does the traditional person who spends time hiking or backpacking look like, and kind of challenge what you might think. I think oftentimes when we receive advertisements from outdoor brands or new catalogs, like the folks that are modeling gear in those catalogs are like typically like really fit, often like really athletic looking by like our standards, I suppose.
Yeah,
Um, and it would be part of the point of this film is that there is a large population who maybe don't fit those typical like athletic stereotypes, that maybe have different sized bodies, who are not white, who are spending time outside. Maybe they're not like sending crazy lines up a peak or first ascents on whatever. They're just like hiking where it's accessible for them in their cities, in their towns, wherever it might be. Uh, so yeah, I hope that this film can kind of challenge people's notions of what, yeah, someone who spends time outside looks like and what their perspective is. Uh, I think we also hope that this film will kind of encourage more brands to consider creating products to that demographic. This film is generously supported by Osprey Backpacks and Smartwool. Both
Okay.
of those brands currently, part of the reason why we chose to work with them is because they have a history and currently are creating product lines that have ex sizes that fit all different types of bodies, whether it's backpacks, socks, base layers. And by having those brands hop on board and support this film, I hope other brands who are yet to be making those products that can fit larger body types, like they'll kind of realize that they're a little bit behind and they need to get with the times, honestly. So that's, several of our hopes for this film, but yeah, I think Anjelica just she says it all in the film. It kind of covers all these bases, and she's definitely a lot more eloquent than I am on this topic. But yeah,
Well, it's good to share this information or this kind of uh, projects that you and Angelica and his team, hikers team, and could be Osprey, can work together and create these kind of histories. And I think is part of the a big movement to 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 save to increase to
to be
this
more inclusive.
participation.
Yeah, yeah, and just like be inclusive. I think
Exactly, inclusive.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, like how can we get more folks across the spectrum like spending time outside? Because we know it's good for our mental health. We know it's good for our physical health. Um, I think that a lot of folks who maybe are younger, who um, are have larger bodies or different size bodies, like also seeing themselves represented in this way is really critical. You know, Part of our hope with this film is to also share it with students and with kids. Like as in the film, like Angelica works in education and she works with kids all the time. And for her students to like see her out there hiking and like that representation is incredible. That's what needs to be happening. Yeah.
Well done, guys. Well done.
Thanks.
Well, can we start talking with Elevated?
Yeah, of course.
Another documentary. This, as you say, as first, then Forward.
Mhm.
And here we saw that there are present or watching in other festivals in 2023 as well. We talk about uh, Sonya Wilson as well, who's climbed in Los Angeles
Mhm.
as well, as you say, is part of this community in Los Angeles. And uh, let's talk about. I don't want to introduce this documentary like a something specific, but I can ask to you who is Sonya Sonya Wilson. Who is Sonya Wilson?
Yeah. Um, Sonia is a amazing person who is a rock climber and
Rock
really
climber.
a yeah, like a bringer together of people, someone who like really organizes people together to find community. Sonia is also deaf, um, and she mainly works in advocating for increasing access for the deaf and hard of hearing community to spend more time together outside and have that representation. Um, specifically in climbing, but also just like across the board outside. But yeah, Elevated is a short documentary that kind of shares, what Sonya's life has been like, and also this community of deaf rock climbers that she's created. And they have an annual climbing retreat in Joshua Tree National Park in Southern California.
Okay,
And
beautiful
they,
place.
yeah, really beautiful. So we went with Sonya to this retreat about 2, 3 years ago, and yeah, we were privileged to be able to spend some time kind of observing like the beauty of this community coming together. Um, so yeah, that's what Elevated is about. That's who Sonya is.
Okay. And what kind of about the climbing with signs, without the opportunity to listen, uh,
Mhm.
how can you explain us, or your documentary, Palmer, how explain or try to explain in Elevate documentary how the people can communicate in
Yeah,
the climbing activity?
yeah, definitely. So I'll start by saying what's unique about the film Elevated is that it is actually primarily nonverbal. So when you're watching the film, because Sonya and the entire cast of the film are deaf and for the most part nonverbal, there's not a lot of speaking throughout the film. Primarily, the film is presented through captioning, like on the bottom of the screen, as Sonya is signing what she is saying. So it's really unique in that way because so often, like when you sit down to watch a film, you're waiting for someone's voice to start telling their story. But instead, Sonya uses sign language. Um, and to answer your question, it's super interesting. When you think about, I climb, I'm sure maybe you do too, but when you're climbing with friends, like communication is key, right? It's like key to
Yeah.
safety. It's key to like a successful, fun climb. And obviously, like when you're climbing, for the most part, both of your hands are on the wall. So when you think about someone who signs and uses their hands to communicate, like how does that work? Um,
Could be
they've
a
developed
little hardest.
a little harder, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty challenging, but
Challenging.
they've
Yeah.
they've essentially like developed a good system, and
Okay.
I think everyone kind of has their own process
Mhm.
of climbing with a fellow deaf climber, but a lot of it is like from what I've observed, like communication before the climb even starts. Like, okay, like I'm gonna before you even start climbing, like, okay, all of our checks are good. Yep, we're safe. You're tied in. You're locked. All that sort of stuff. I'm gonna climb up this way, and then I'm gonna take a break, and then I'm gonna keep going. I'll give you a thumbs up when I'm good. It's like a lot of preemptive
Okay.
communication, maybe like more so than you would normally.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's a bunch of other signs that are very climbing specific, like um, when someone is done with a climb, like, they'll tap their head to
Mhm.
signify, like, I'm done, bring me back down. Where you would normally say, like, take in the rope, they have a sign that's just kind of like one hand pulling down. Uh,
Oh.
so there's like different little signs that they've come up with, but I think what's interesting and part of what I've learned from talking to Sonya about kind of this question is that nonverbal communication in climbing can actually benefit everyone, not just the deaf community, because even though like let's say there's two people who are hearing, they're not deaf and they're climbing together, but the part of the wall, they're really high up and it's really windy and they can't hear what that person, 20 feet up is saying. Having these little like signs that we can all use, like tapping the top of your head or take whatever it might be, like even if you're not deaf, I think that is actually really useful because you never know what the conditions might be. um, so yeah, it's pretty cool to see them in action, and uh, it's hard to keep up too. Like some of these folks like sign super fast, and it's really incredible to see how quickly they can communicate with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, I think that is very important to be comfortable with your team, with your player. Bring some comfortable starting, as you say, after you climb as well. And it's very important if you work, I don't know if it exactly already exists, but in this kind of communication about science,
Yeah.
to share with the people who want to climb in that situations, and could be promote these signs, as you say, with other people around the world. I think it's very, very important to share that information as you start already. And how many time or something difficult as you in the production edition? I saw a lot of pictures, very good pictures about it. I don't know, it could be, I saw you like bring with you a red, it's like a red camera, no, yeah.
It was actually an RE, an RE camera. So both Ford and Elevated were shot on RE Alexa. The production was, again, just like really fun. I mean, how could it not be fun? Climbing a Joshua tree with fun cameras and great people. What was challenging about this film, if that's what your question is again, like it was mainly nonverbal. I know some American Sign Language, ASL. I'm not proficient, like conversational. So we did have a translator on set with us at all times, and just working with a translator. I think I've worked with translators, like whether it's Spanish or German, whatever it might be, but I think when it's sign language is just like a whole different ball game because it's not a spoken language, it's a like, very visual language.
Yeah.
And for example, like when we conducted Sonya's interview throughout the film, like, you kind of see her interview at her home, she's signing, there's captions on the screen. And I really wanted to like hear the sound in Sonya's interview of like her hands like moving together. And also sometimes like when an individual is signing and they want to emphasize something, like they will give like a little like like a guttural kind of like this is really important, kind of vocalization.
Yeah.
But the problem was, recording all those sounds with a translator in the room, actively like talking was not possible. So what we ended up doing is it was me and Sonya and the director of photography in the interview room, and then we had a live stream like wireless to a different room where the translator could see the interview and was talking a lot and translating, and then that what she was saying was going into my ear. And
Oh.
so it was like kind of a live feed loop coming back to me. And that allowed us to like, when you see the film, when your audience watches it, like look out for those moments like where you can hear like her hands like rubbing together and like little vocalizations. And that was all possible because of this really intricate system of interviewing. And there was tons of stuff like that. Just like
Yeah.
sound was so important in this film because there was a lack of voice. Like it made me realize that how often we rely on voice to like carry a film and tell a story. And when that is not possible, like what do you do? Like when there's no voice in a film, like you start paying attention to like all the other sounds, like the sounds of birds and the sound of hands on rock and music. And so it ended up making like the sound design and sound in the film really crucial to get right. And we took our time thinking about it for a long, a while.
Well, I think it's a good result about your work. I think you present all these little unspecific, I don't know how to say, how yeah, the people who need to explain something, or I think one of the big things here is like you starting work uh, with a new knowledge, like without these sounds, but you can see eyes, you can see expression of the face,
Yeah.
could be this kind of thing, no? This kind of another explanation or kind of abilities to the body explain how in the case of Sonya feels when she explains something, no?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, it's funny, forward and elevated are similar in a lot of ways, um, in that they basically are trying to really highlight a specific community that is benefiting from time spent outside and how it is benefiting like them socially in terms of their mental health. Um, but I think like both, and they're also very different in many ways, but working on both of those films, I mean, that's what I love about this work is that I'm like learning so much as I'm going, and meeting new people, hearing interesting perspectives, being challenged to like think about how to tell a story in a non-traditional way. Uh, and that's what I love about this work, and why I do it. And yeah, I just am so thankful to Anjelica and Sonya for like letting me and my team collaborate with them. And I think that's the other part of it too is in both of these films, especially with Forward too, more recently, we've been really involving the characters in the creation of the story. So with Anjelica, like, and Sonya, we had both of them like we had many interviews and conversations before we even started filming. We like started sharing interview questions with them for their feedback, like just getting them involved in their own story and how they want to tell it. And that went all the way through to like editing too, like giving feedback on some of the edits and whatnot, because ultimately at the end of the day, like it's their story, it's their perspective, and I just want to involve them and be respectful and also like do a good job,
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
good, good. I think that is part of our society, is part of the, and it's good to bring some history to know for the future in the history that there is no, uh, if I don't know if it's good say anticapacitism.
Hmm.
It is good like there is nothing to stop us to uh, to bring some activities
Yeah.
indoor or outdoor.
Yeah.
So if we can share these histories uh, with your with this kind of challenge, as you say, and with your art,
Hmm.
because you put your art in these histories. So I think it's a good mix to involve around the world these kind of histories. And then in the Mexico Outdoor Film Festival, we're very proud to share with our uh, spectators uh, all the all these histories. I don't know
That's great.
to something more about elevated or forward. How many festivals as you presented,
Both
more or
films,
less?
both films have been doing really well. Elevated's been out for a bit. Forward is more recent. I think Elevated is probably at like almost 30 festivals
A lot.
internationally. Yeah, it's a lot. It's picked up a lot of awards as well, and it's really cool to see. I like consider that a huge recognition of like Sonya and like her efforts. And the same thing with Ford. Ford, I think, is also nearing like 20 international festivals and a lot of awards as well. And it's really cool to see these women like being recognized in this way and in this space. It's clear to me that there's like a hunger for these stories. Um, because I think it's a much needed perspective that is often like left out. So yeah, it's been a really cool journey, and excited to bring both films to you all soon.
Yeah, thank you, and welcome to Mexico as well. We're going to start in the middle of Mexico City and then travel around Mexico,
Oh wow,
like
nice.
itinerary film projections
That's amazing.
in different states of Mexico, in different topic or some specific places to climb, to highlight, to work with the nature, like a lot of activities. So we are going to share with all the people these kind of results of the presentation about elevated and forward. And something else. How do you think about the new generations who's think about something could be stop them, like physically, mentally, or something else? What can you tell to the new generations about don't stop?
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that especially for newer generations or younger generations, it's really difficult to find. I think right now, unfortunately, like it's difficult to find spaces where you feel like you can belong in the outdoors, if you are an outlier, if you are a marginalized demographic, and um, I think that there is a really cool growing effort, grassroots effort by folks like Sonya, by folks like Anjelica to like create those spaces and change that narrative. And I feel and I know that a lot of other like hiking groups and climbing groups like exist all over the US, I'm sure Mexico too, that are really based on like community building and allowing younger generations to like find belonging. Um, but one of the last films in one of the last lines that Anjelica has in Forward is that she really, I think she says, I really want to increase representation. Um, you know, and sometimes though it's just if you can't find those groups, if you can't find those spaces, sometimes it's just got to be you. Like you've got to start it yourself, and that's like a super scary thing to do. Like it takes time, sometimes it takes money, but sometimes it's just got to be you. You got to like go out of your way to create that space, and put yourself out there. And I hope by watching Forward and hearing that from Anjelica by someone who did that, she like saw this problem. Like, I don't have anyone to hike with. Like, no one wants to go as slow as me. No one really looks like me that I'm hiking with. Like, I'm just gonna start my own group. Like, that takes a lot of guts. And I think like people who are older and of an older generation, like myself or Anjelica or Sonya, like they can kind of pave the way and set that example. Uh, so yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Palmer. Thank you. So, as you know, you can share or you can put we are going to put the information about Forward and elevated uh, into the description of this interview. And if you want to talk with Sonya or with Anjelica or talk with Palmer, we can follow us in the social media and talk with these guys or asking something if you need it or if you want to know where is the future activities in the United States or here in Mexico as well. We have a lot of teams, a lot of groups to follow and to involve in these outdoor activities, as we say, as are very important to develop ourselves in the nature to bring some health mentally and physical as well. So, Palmer, can you invite our community to watch the Mexico Outdoor Film Festival?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope everyone will come. watch the films of the Mexico Outdoor Film Festival and, learn something, be inspired, and yeah, be part of this great community that you all are creating.
Thank you very much. Palmer, this is not a goodbye. We are in contact.
Sounds
And
good.
thank you very much. See you, as we say in the Mexico Outdoor Film Festival, see you as base camp.
All right. See you at base camp.
Yeah, see you as base camp.
All right.
Take care, Palmer.
Thanks. So good talking to you.
Me too.
All right.